I'm telling you, man.
We do it by the seat of our pants always. We
do it. For 30 years we've been doing it. I'm not sure what we're doing, and that's what's got everybody guessing. What is their relationship anyway?
You and me both.
But who cares? Fucking. I mean, whatever.
Yeah, that's not what I'm really into. Plus, it's not Saturday night, so
Not sanitary.
Well, I mean, it can be. Depends on how you get down. But I'm not really here to, judge you or tell you that. Maybe I am. I don't know. I'm not sure why any of us are here.
I'm talking about full body suits. What are we doing?
I mean, again, if it's Saturday, not here to judge.
It's Saturday, bro.
It's Saturday, bro. Oh my God.
That's got to be a t-shirt. That should totally be a t-shirt.
I'm pretty sure that's on the list. We just, we haven't finalized. We got to finalize. We're almost there. We keep saying that, but we are almost there.
Because it would work too. And people be wearing that shit on a Tuesday.
Oh my God, yeah. All day, every day.
Like any day.
Every day is Saturday, bro.
It's Saturday, bro.
Doesn't matter what day, where you're at, what you're doing. It is Saturday, bro.
It's a state of mind.
It is. It's like YOLO, but way cooler.
Like take your own case of beer to a strip club at night.
I mean, I do kind of like those joints. You can usually talk people into some other stuff. I'm that kind of a, not, I've heard, I'm not, not.
We're not even pretending we don't eat the food here. You don't.
No, don't skip on the meatballs. Just saying. No, that is a How I Met Your Mother episode, of course. And, he's talking about the buffet and he's like, I know what you're thinking about the buffet. And he's like, skip it. He's like, don't skip on the meatballs. They're delicious. It's pretty. Actually, no, I think he was taking a couple of kids. He was teaching like 2 young kids. This is right when he was getting married, like I think in season 9 or something.
What do you mean young kids?
22-ish.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. College, loners, way too much cologne on, like all that kind of shit. Don't know how to dress. How do you start a conversation with a girl? Have you met Brian? It's just like, it's that easy. Oh my God. It really is that easy.
It can be.
No, it is.
Well, it's always
not that
easy.
It can't do it. Is
strippers.
With anybody.
Well, true.
Dude, if you want to introduce yourself to somebody, if you want to talk to somebody, just talk to them. It is that easy. Yeah. And if they want to talk back, they will. And if not, hey, talk to somebody else.
That's right.
Yeah, man, you ain't got to be stuck on all that shit.
You might be the one that finds out in 10 seconds after they open their mouth that you really don't want to talk to them anymore.
I know, right? I was like, hey, you're just like,
it's nothing personal. I'm on a different vibe.
Person behind you. There's no one behind me. Oh, it's right now over there. Like duck out real quick, but no.
Did you see that?
But see, I mean, dude, that's like one of my big things about my tattoos. Specifically the right side, because I'm covered in like pinup girls, and so people are just like, oh, it automatically promotes a certain idea, and it's like, I got news for you, man. This arm is a exact representation of you can't just fall in love with it because it looks good. If you're looking at it and you're just like, oh my God, that looks amazing, and that's all you're going on, there's no substance in there. There's nothing. You gotta know the person, but that also goes back to you have to know yourself first. Because I mean, how can you know anyone if you don't know you? You can't trust what somebody says if you don't even trust what you say. Got to start inside, Absolutely. Man. Got to start inside.
Wow, that's deep, man.
Well, that's what my tattoos are about. I mean, that's why the left side is all angelic. The right arm is supposed to be the representation of hell, or the idea of just doing because it looks or is easy, or it's like the easy way out kind of a thing. Oh, it looks good, we're good. No, whereas the angelic side, that's why even though it's the hell side.
See, I would have put but I guess to the onlooker, right is left, left is right. But I'm just saying,
Well, it depends if there's a mirror involved.
I would think right arm would be the good arm.
But what's right? What's wrong? What's left? What's right?
Left was always considered to be sinister.
I don't give a shit about that. Dude, that's what people or society's perceptions are.
Well, I'm left-handed, and
I'm ambidextrous.
I'm glad I didn't go to Catholic church. Let's put it that way.
You would have got smacked a lot more.
Hell yeah.
But dude, that's the thing is like, all right, so this is, the right side is the devil or the hell side, but yet it has a very scenic, beautiful, background to it. So it promotes this idea of just everything is like, sunshine and rainbows. It's all lovely today. It's a falsity. It's a representation of just like, oh, it's just this easy. And it's like, no, it's not. That's why, the angelic side as beautiful as it is, has a lot of like stormy clouds and lightning, and just it looks very volatile. Because to me, the idea is to have a pure or impeccable representation. You have to be honest. Everything's not all sunshine and rainbows. There are going to be cloudy days. There are going to be storms. There are going to be things that you have to go through, but you can't just live in that world and think of it that way either. So that's why, you know, my two sleeves and my back really are one piece, because it's the representation of, you know, hell versus heaven, and the in between, which is, you know, purgatory, or, you know, good versus bad, and the balance in between, but also life and death. You can't have one without the other. You know, I mean, that's why my back is a Grim Reaper, you know, or Death Dealer or Samurai, because it's Japanese traditional, but you have death entangled with a tree of life. They're not killing one another. They're just entangled like yin and yang. You can't have one without the other. But it's up to you to know what all of these things are and find your balance in between.
What is heaven?
To me, it's a perception. It's an idea. You know, heaven to me is being able to find joy in anything. So no matter how dark, stormy, crappy, whatever, there's still something good from it, whether it's right now or a year from now or 20 years from now, or there's something good in everything, just as there's something bad in everything. But
so heaven isn't a place.
Heaven is whatever you make of it, man. Hell is whatever you make of it. That's why I forget where I heard this, but the idea that heaven and hell and earth are all the same plane, you're just on different frequencies. So that
would be a good way to explain it.
I think so. I mean, growing up, like, all right, so growing up, I went to like church camp and shit, because, you know, that's really all we had. You know, the other camps were, you weren't spending that money on that stuff because, one, we didn't have it, and two, if it was that crappy, my parents didn't want me to go there. I think it's even worse. So they just, church camp, really cheap, really good people. Cool. But in doing that, I was privy to this really awesome idea of the difference between heaven and hell. And the story goes, you get two different pictures, and it's literally just, you know, pictures, so that it gives you like representation. And you're seeing hell. All of the people are really skinny, very miserable. Just, you know, they look shitty. And the thing with them is they have no elbows. So you get to take from this picture and move into an actual visualization. Well, here they have this table, like massive fucking table with just tons of food. There's wine. It's anything you could ever want. You have all of it right here in front of you.
But you have no elbows.
But you have no elbows, so you can't take it and feed it to yourself.
No, but you can feed your neighbor.
So here's the flip side.
Bam.
Now you go to heaven. Same exact scenario. Table with all the food. People with no elbows. But they're all fat and happy and cheerful. And because what they do is they take their straight arms and pick up wine or food, and they feed their neighbor, and so does their neighbor. They feed them and their neighbor. You work with each other. You coincide. And that's why I like the representation of like heaven and hell and earth are all in the same existence. It's just how you perceive it. So with the constraints that we have, coupled with the resources that we have, it's up to you to decide what to do with it.
That's the perfect diet plan.
What, just take people's elbows away?
Yeah, just take the elbows.
I can't stop eating. I'm gonna lock your elbows in. You're done.
Yeah, we're gonna lock this on here. You won't be able to bend your elbow at all.
Yeah.
I mean like about 2 or 3 degrees.
I mean, that sounds less intrusive than gastro bypass or some shit, right?
You know what I'm saying?
Dude.
You'll wear those for about a month and change your, you know. You might need somebody to feed you now and then, but I guarantee it'll work.
The first time you can't wipe your own ass, you're going to have an epiphany. I can guarantee you that.
That's a good point, you know.
Dude, well, I've been there before, man.
What do you do then?
I mean, remember a few years back when I got that bacteria infection that came out of nowhere? The perspective was that I possibly got bit by a spider that had something on it, and they had no clue what the hell to do with it. All the tests came back negative. They give me freaking antibiotics. Thank you. They give me that, and it's like instantly everything goes back. But my hands were so swollen that my wrists were stiff. My fingers were stiff. To try to even wipe my own ass was beyond painful and a horrible experience, dude. And I'm sick as can be. So it's like, I'm not having poop. I'm having pee out the butt. So
that's no fun. Yeah.
And, you know, several times a day. So it's like, and it's getting harder and harder. So it got to a point where it's like, I can't even wipe my ass. So it's like, fine, just shit myself into the toilet, clean up as best I can, and then jump in the shower and rinse my ass off. You know, I had to like bidet my butt.
Feels so much better that way. Especially, if you're not feeling good.
But dude, that's what I'm like saying, dude, once you get just one time.
That's way more information than I needed to know about.
Fuck it, man. I'm here to
we've
share.
all been there, I think, at one point.
We've all shit ourselves, whether we were kids or not. And you know what I mean? Like, or older or sick or dude, just, you know.
Totally fell asleep on that.
Poop happens. But that's why, like, you know, I made
this shit poop.
But I made that statement, and it's very true. It's like, dude, the first time you can't wipe your own ass, you'll have an epiphany.
Wow. Honey?
Yeah. It's a shitty situation, but bump.
I hate to have to ask, but
Yeah, but dude, that's, you know, so I did what I had to survive, and then it's just like, all right, cool. I just take a giant bidet after I deuce myself. Cool.
Always keep a change of clothes.
You know, whatever it takes, man. 220, 221.
Imagine going through life with no elbows.
I did, and it sucked.
Watch me do push-ups.
Still working on one.
All
All right. You'd have to do like finger push-ups like fucking Bruce Lee or some shit.
Yeah, you'd be like super strong here.
Dude, because that's all you got. You'd be a whole forearms and shoulders. That's it.
Take the things off, you're like a monkey.
I don't get
Or
that.
Popeye, you know, with the big forearms. And
Popeye would have been a much better visual. Should have gone with that one the first
yeah,
time.
well, sorry. Well, whatever.
A little late now. But yeah, man, I mean, this is why I really love having our conversations about perception, because I mean, you know, especially in that mindset that heaven, hell, earth, you know, all are here. You really can have heaven on earth if you find the joy and the happiness in things, even if you don't want to.
I mean, to me, by definition, purgatory would be something more akin to what's going on right now.
Well, that's why I feel as though, you know, because especially with the idea that we're in a multi-dimensional multiverse where there are just, you know, layers and layers stacked upon each other of different existences. It's just whether or not we resonate on that frequency. I mean, like we were talking, I think it was last week or whatever, when we started getting into like the Mandela effect, and it's like, well, yeah, no shit. You jumped a timeline. You went to an alternate, you know, perception of this reality. So of course their, you know, memory is going to be this way. And there's only so many of us that have a memory this way because we've jumped into that timeline where for them, that's how it was when they were growing up. That's their memories because that's how their world was.
That really is a whole trippy concept, though, that when you hit something like a Mandela effect that affects thousands and thousands of people, do we just remember stuff wrong?
But that's what
I would find that to be more believable, but
no.
that's the point at which some people are saying you split from your normal timeline, and now
Well, and I mean, and there's
a different timeline on a multiverse.
There's definitely some stuff when we were growing up that we recall differently. I mean, think about like Star Wars, where everybody thinks, "No, you're not my father," and it's like he never says that.
We just remembered it wrong
because somebody misquoted, and now that's just the quote, you know. But in actuality, it was, you know, search, you know, deep in your heart, and you will know the truth, or you will know it to be true.
Frankly, my dear,
I don't give a darn. I don't. Now, what did fucking Gary say? He's like, frankly, my dear, fuck you. It's like, what? What kind of shit is this?
no infringement there.
No shit. I really think, you know, especially because, I mean, when we watched you know, All Things Everywhere All at Once, or, you know, whatever that was, the craziest fucking longest title of a movie I've ever heard.
Which I still have to watch again, by the way.
But, I mean, within that perception, you really do see that there are all of these coexisting universes, and, you know, there's an infinite amount of yous and me's and everybody else, you know,
It seems to have a lot of that real common nowadays. I hate to say new agey ideas, but to remember how to do something that you've never learned, realize that you already know it in another version of you, and you'll have it.
I like that because that's like the Jet Li's, the, you know, one or whatever it was, where he went around. The one was going around killing.
He was actually acquiring
Well, the one version of himself it was going around and killing all the other ones and, just absorbing their energy more or less. And then he had to like fight him and stuff. But it's kind of the same thing as like Neo and Mr. Smith. I mean, life and death, it's an entanglement. You can't have one without the other. So when you put the good out there, there's going to be the counter of the bad, but it's going to exist even if you don't, because someone else would do it. So it's like, fuck it, might as well just do it and be done with it, and then find joy in being a part of something.
Yeah, man.
When thinking about the multidimensional and, infinite me's, yous, everybody, when I get to the question of, all right, so then when this body dies in this life, perhaps it doesn't elsewhere, or at least not on that timeline or of that time perspective for that timeline. Where does my soul for this part of me go? Does that go to one of the other ones, or because having, especially like our guy Artie, right? Artie can talk to the other side. There's people that, more or less have proven that this is a very capable, it's not just mentalism. It's like, no, there's no way in hell you could have known these things. How did you know this? Well, so if they are on the other side, what is that other side? Is that just another dimension of what this representation is? Or is it literally an alternate dimension or perception of what our reality is? Like as we talk about, we're in a 3 and 4D, we go to 5D, which is just our soul. Like KRS-One was saying, when you think to yourself and you listen to yourself and you hear all that shit in your head, how did you hear what you just said when you didn't use your mouth or your ears? 5th dimension. So are we just, when we die from this?
Yeah, it's deep because like you have an opinion about everything, but what is that has the opinion?
But again, the extension is if there's infinite me's and you's, does that mean there's infinite souls of me and you that are very similar?
So that's if you go on the perception that a soul unto itself is anything different from the soul, that it's all the same energy and it all belongs back together. Not that there's not individuation in between.
Individuation?
Right. But I'm saying between the different spirits in that realm, because that is an image of that life that they lived. You know what I'm saying? Like, but if you think about it, wouldn't that whole total memory, that total recall on the other realm when you've passed over would contain all of your past life memories? Would they not?
And this is why I like the thing about, like the Akashic records and stuff like that. It's like as soon as someone does this, that information or ideas in the air, it's in the ether, and any one of us can pull from it. The same as like, oh, I have this idea. It's like, did you have that idea, or was that idea just out there and it came to you?
Is there a difference?
I think that's a really good question. I mean, to me, that's like
how do you
tomato, chicken or egg,
How do you prove any of it? So if we're gonna speculate, what is the difference?
But see, and this is why
that's what's always happening to make it happen. It's like,
that's why I love the idea, the philosophy that I know nothing. And, we get all these people, especially those who want to be logically minded only. And they say, oh, there's with absolute certainty, no doubt, the facts, the data, yeah, but do we really know? No, we don't. And we will die on that hill because we believe in it. So it's not even a fact. It's a belief. And we're so busy saying it's a fact instead of, being emotionally connected to the idea that it's a belief, that we're just going to base it on emotion in logic. And it's like, that doesn't work. Those are completely separate ideas, and they both have logic to them. They both have, sense or understanding, but are either one of them correct? But what is correct?
What is correct? That's exactly it. What the fuck is time?
Yeah.
No, when you try to work that out in your brain, it just makes it hurt. You know what I'm saying? Because the connection between time and space is immutable. You can't have one without the other. Time and space are like two sides of the same coin. Correct?
I feel, well, I mean, because
what is a concept of reality? None of this would be real at all, right? Because you would be outside of time, which would actually make you outside of any effect on that solid state of matter.
Well, see, this is why I think it was a couple weeks ago when I brought up the idea, air quotes, I brought up the idea of time and space in addition to gravity is what makes our construct. And it's not like the construct was made from these as in like, oh, we're going to just make this and this is what we need to make it. It's almost more like when you take peanut butter and chocolate and smash it together, now you got a Reese's cup. Well, if you take time and space and smash it with gravity, our reality comes into existence.
Well, time and space would still be together in that equation. Gravity is actually an outcropping of that, I would consider. Gravity is...
I would say gravity is its own perception, just like time and space is its own perception.
Gravity is a natural force unto itself, just like radiation. So like a sun radiates. But for a sun to radiate, there has to be an equal and opposite force. There has to be... I mean, some would say every sun worth its salt would actually have a black hole of its similar size somewhere.
Yeah, almost like entanglement or yin and yang. You got to have the opposites. And
there's always balance somehow.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So if there's...
Well, and that's why I'm saying, like, to me, time is not time without space and space is not space without time. So those two are their own idea.
But that it's all from light. So if you're now this was my point. If you're now part of light, because your question was, does that mean there's that many of just a soul that's you in all these multiverses? That's having the assumption that each little individual soul, when in that realm, isn't part of the whole at all times.
Well, that's why my question is, I mean, is it just there's infinite souls of me that are all very similar? Or
I think that's when you start talking about different dimensions too, because there's a dimension where you're connected with that. And that's what people would consider seeing God or having that experience of like people that have not died, but have experienced some kind of union with the all, which is probably a more accurate way of saying it.
We talked about this before and I brought it up and I like this as an analogy. The idea of the movie Osmosis Jones, Chris Rock has this, cop inside of a body busting viruses and shit. But if you look at it as, even though we can't see what's going on within an atom, to a degree, we can see it as a structure or, a representation or idea. If you could actually be on that size of an atom in that existence, what's to say there's not another realm of something like us, not meaning our exact representation, but some form of a life or a life reality base that isn't on that level? Because then the extension, you go to Men in Black when they're doing the thing and he pops open the one door and the world beyond them is even bigger. And it's just like, bro, get your shit together, dude. We're a speck. Or I think at the end of the movie, they're sitting there playing with the planets and it's like, aliens with marbles and these are the Earths. Same thing was at Horton Hears a Who. There's this entire world that's just on this one tiny little frickin' dandelion.
It's like a galaxy
So that's what I'm saying is I feel on the dimension idea that you have all of these layers and components and pieces, and just because we don't physically perceive them in our reality doesn't mean it's not real, doesn't mean it doesn't exist. To me, there really is infinite possibilities in that sense.
Well, that goes back to our other conversations about the narrow bandwidth, the human being. I mean, even when compared to other animals, we have we can't reach certain places that other animals can. Like maybe, if we keep messing with genes, we'll figure a way out. But
I mean, I like denim.
You can't
Oh, that was funny.
If you could perceive like a bat could, you wouldn't need your eyes at night. You'd see shapes enough to know exactly what's going on because it would all be in real time. And that doesn't even go the whole breadth. I mean, if you think about, if you could see radio waves, if you could see all vibrations, like that'd be too much.
Well, but there's something to be said that our bodies have, and that's why, our reticulum activation center only allows us to actually process only, so much of the information. Our bodies have nothing but sensors built everywhere. Touch, smell, sight, everything. If we are able to, and I feel we are able to perceive all that, it's just our brain goes, that's too much. We only need this much to do what we got to do. So it literally limits our perception.
I got this theory that all small children are kind of clairvoyant.
I believe so, bro.
And
Same as like dogs and things like that.
This is back in that first 7 years we were talking about.
Yeah, the
theta too, which is a really interesting brain state and how active it can be. I mean, and it only occurs really usually during a heightened state of meditation or something like that.
To put yourself into theta?
Yeah.
After you're 7 years old, basically.
But to be able to actually do that in a waking state and be very alert.
See, this is why I like the answer
for the first 7 years, right? I mean, but I think even in that first couple years, because I think back to, I don't have a whole lot of baby memories, but I feel like maybe I could see auras when I was a baby. But then again, I didn't have my full vision yet. You know what I mean?
Well, you also didn't have a expression as to what vision was from everybody else, so you weren't being put into a construct of this is what vision is. This is all you're allowed to see.
Well, it was light and it was shadow and it was shades of color and shapes. It was just, to me, it was all a kaleidoscope.
You're right.
One of my earliest memories is more like a feeling of comfort.
Okay.
Being around people that loved me. I remember seeing a picture, obviously when I was older, seeing a picture of me when I was younger in the arms of like my great aunt or something like that. And the way the shadows were cast and where the sun was coming from and the tree that was around us and the group of chairs that were all bundled together and everybody that was there. And I saw the picture and I was like, I remember that. And like, I was seriously like a tiny baby, but it was like one of those weird memories where it was more like
a feeling.
It was more like a feeling of comfort and safety. And
that's pretty dumb.
But I feel like I think back to that and I'm like, I think I might have been able to see auras. I feel like everybody maybe has that kind of ingrained out of them.
Well, because again, our bodies are just giant sensor sets. So I know we can perceive it. It's just whether or not our brain wants to or lets us, or you know what I mean?
Well, it's a matter of being open to it. Like, is there a way that you can trick that REC, right? And
right.
That's what some of these exercises that you talked about before
that's why I said I love the answer, because it takes the secret, which is the law of attraction, and it shows you how to work with it. And the big thing on a scientific level to explain that is to utilize the RAC, or reticulum activation center. Well, in order to do that, you're putting yourself into a very deep, relaxed, meditative state, which, as you just said, is how you get into theta, which is where your brain learns.
That's like I think that's a really deep meditation. Most people can't even do that, but
I would just say that it's a very peaceful, calm, remove sensors from your perception, and you're almost in your own world at that point. But in doing that, to whatever degree, because you now have a calm, blank mind, it's just a giant blackboard that's just waiting for stuff to be, input, and you Johnny Five that shit with some visualization, and then you back it up with words that resonate with you, because you have to feel it in your soul when you say these. You have to believe what you're saying. You doing all of those, you now have wiped the slate clean, drawn the picture as animately as possible, and then literally doubled it by reintroducing it in an alternate form. Same as, hey, you really want to remember something. Well, you have to write it down, but then also think about it or picture it. They tell you to remember things better. You need to have as many representations of that idea as possible, and then your brain really stores it. Well, this is basically how the RAC works. So that's why being in that meditative, relaxed state, or as we're saying, to have theta wave, it's very easy for you to program your brain. And then from there, because again, our bodies are still ingesting all this data and information. our brain is excluding the majority of it because it goes, no, I only need this stuff to exist. So that's why if you can train your brain to reprogram what this stuff is, well, now you're already in that mindset. Once you've done it, it's pretty much just there, and your brain just keeps bringing that input to you or allowing you to see it. Once you can be in that mindset, in that idea, you're pretty much programming. You're good to go. I mean, you can keep changing and growing or transcending, whatever you want to call it. But once you can get yourself to a place where you're just like, nah, fuck it, I am happy. Cool, just stay there. Your brain will take care of the rest. You can go on autopilot and just chill for the rest of your life. You really can. And I mean, that's honestly what most people are doing. They're going off of what their programming was from those first 7 years, which for most of us in this world, somehow or another, there's probably some traumatic experience.
I try not to live any part of my life on autopilot anymore. I think that's horrible, but that's just me. I mean,
you see, but
as I get older, that'll change.
But you're hearing autopilot in the sense of you just literally kick back and just don't do anything anymore. It's not what I'm saying in the sense of you don't do anything. It's I no longer have to talk good to myself. I just already do it because my brain has been tricked into having that as the program. So I just always say nice stuff to me. So once you've put yourself into this program set, you can literally just flip the switch and just leave it there and just live your life. And you can still be a good person or a sad person or whatever it is that you want to be. You can dictate. Dude, there's plenty of people that want to be sad, man. They're happy to be sad. That's where they find their joy.
Sad to say.
But who's to say that that's correct or not correct?
I've known people that aren't happy unless they're angry.
Same shit, bro.
I mean, I see how they're connected.
Well, yeah, but I mean, even if you look inside the brain, the happy and sad parts are the same spots. The angry and super joyful, same spots. So the brain this is where this idea comes from, and you get the extremes. You have, all the way this way or all the way that way or in between, like you do with anything. I mean, it's the yin and yang. But being able to program your brain so that you see things the way you want to, so that you're perceiving the same data that everyone else is, but you're drawing alternate conclusions that keep you happy or sad or whatever it is, it's going to do that.
I got a lot to think about this week. That's what I'm hearing from that.
Well, dude, but that's why me having done the answer, which is 30 days or 28 days, really, because it's, more or less a full cycle, they say, is done in 4 weeks, but
28 days is a full cycle.
Same as,
biologically speaking,
more or less. But having done this a few times, the mindset and mentality that I've programmed into me is I have the ability to speak well to myself, but I still have that lingering understanding that I can also not speak well to myself. So the full programming isn't set that I only speak well to myself. As I've gotten older and doing that, because I mean, we're going back at this point, like 12 years ago is when the first time I actually did this. I've been finding myself more recently falling back into that rhythm of that perception when I first did this to change myself. And it's almost as if while I did do that programming, my brain has been undoing all of the other shit that was prior to that now all of a sudden all this stuff that I was, praying for, meditating for, asking for, whatever you want to call it, putting it out there from, over a decade ago is really starting to sink in as actual mentality and programming. So I found it even easier for me is I don't even need to meditate as much, because doing the answer, you're supposed to meditate 3 times a day, and then visualize 3 times, a day, and then do your affirmations 3 times a day. So you're supposed to clear the slate, do the picture for your brain, and then redo it with actual words. I've found that the fact that I already, meditate daily just to kind of start my day, just to clear, just relax myself, having just proper affirmations so that I'm saying them out loud, but also saying them to myself, all of a sudden that stuff just starts happening. So I don't even have to go back to that programming idea because it's already underlying in there. I just have to put the right information in there, and it's just like, oh, okay, cool. And it's just, now it looks for that stuff. So I guess my point on that is, having done it before, there was so much work going into it, because you're talking about by the time you get to, day 20, you're meditating for a half an hour, you're visualizing for 15, 20 minutes. And then you're doing affirmations for like another 10 or 15, because you're just constantly shoving this down your own brain's throat. You are, dude. You just keep shoveling it in.
Your brain has a throat.
It does, and it likes to be filled with awesomeness. If you're doing it right. But again, having done that, I've just, with recent things that I've been at, I've just written myself appropriate affirmations, and I show them to you. You see them all the time. Like, I change them as I feel my focus dips away. It's like, no, let's go back to just, let's have some proper affirmations and just talk good shit to myself. That program is built into me. It's like, hey, I know if I'm unhappy, then I need to do this. Cool. I just do it. And it's even easier for me. And it's just, I've programmed so well on that level that I don't have to do all of that extra work to try to clear out and, reprogram. I can just have really awesome daydreams and just write really amazing affirmations that I say to myself all the time. Because we've joked, and plenty of other people have joked about it, but I literally do myself all day long just talking good shit. Like, I am my biggest fucking champion. I tell myself how awesome I am, how easy it is for me to make money, how easy it is for me to have relationships. Like,
it's easy to laugh at him when he says that,
right. But
it's so much better than the alternative, because most people are the other way around. Most people are too busy being modest, when it's like, because I'll admit,
I wouldn't even say modest, man. We've just been programmed since we were kids to talk shit on each other and ourselves.
Pretty much. Yeah.
That's what we got programmed for.
We're the last of that generation, apparently.
Well, but it's the same as the idea with like schooling and stuff. We, when we go to school as kids, we get programmed that you go to one place 5 days a week, you sit behind a desk, you do what you're told, and then you go home. That's what a fucking job is.
We've been doing the same thing since elementary school.
So from elementary school, our schooling system, I don't know where else, because I haven't, had school outside of the States, but here in the States, at
exactly what it's
least,
teaching you, though.
It's teaching you to be
stay organized, stay in your zone,
complacent,
at your desk with everyone else,
do your tasks, fall in line, go along with everything else. And they beat us up with that, man. Because think about it, kindergarten, it's all about finger painting and being happy and going out and playing with butterflies, and the world is wonderful. And then you hit first grade and it's like A, B, C, D, 1, 2, and it's just regimented. You just sit behind a desk and you listen to people and you do tasks, and then you go home. So no wonder that's all of us have ever thought is what's right or correct to do. Sit behind a desk and make a paycheck.
We don't need no education.
But that's not education. That's programming.
Well, that was kind of the subtext there, but
I think so.
We don't need no.
Apparently you do, because that's a double negative,
bro.
But yeah, dude, that's why I don't agree with a lot of what we do as a society, because it really does program us from the time we are children for the rest of our lives to not be independent thinkers, to have to go along with what everybody else is doing.
That's part of that thing. Like, do you think if you were to catch yourself as a young child and realize that to stay in that theta state, you actually had to work on it as you get older? Like, maybe that's where some of these incredible stories come from about people who are clairvoyant or whatever and can basically see right through you.
Well, I would say it's probably more of, just my perception, but I would say it's probably more of the fact of, if you saw these things as a child and nobody ever beat it out of you, like literally never just.
Well, and that was the tie into that was that.
Yeah. So it's not that you have to keep doing it to practice it and get better at it in that sense to keep it there. It should just be there, because that's your belief system. That's your perception. That's how your brain works.
That theory that maybe we don't open our third eye as easily as we used to,
or at all,
because there's fluoride in the water and there's carbon in the air and there's, and
and that might be true on a physical level, but on an emotional, mental level, if we believe
I think we've tuned out.
Well, that's why I say, if we believe that, if that's our perception or belief system, well, that's what our programming is. So if we tell our brain as we're growing up and programming everything to be, no, we don't use this, this doesn't exist for us, then you're not going to think that. You're not going to feel that. You're not going to be able to do that. So, I mean, think about kids that do get raised in these environments where they're taught to be, work in a coinciding manner where we all have to, go along to get along, but we can all be free thinkers while doing it. How much more balanced are they? How much more in tune with everything around them are they? And some of us want to laugh at them and call them like tree hugging hippies and shit like that, but they're happy with anything and everything, and they're finding peace and joy in all of these different things because that's what they've been programmed to do. It's not that money brings it. It's not that time brings it. It's not that love brings it. It's being you and whatever that means. So you're literally being supported in the idea of just finding out who you are and doing you.
Never hurt anybody to do that, right? It's actually healthy.
I believe so.
But it depends on how you do it, right?
Well, I mean, because you've seen me, because I had my kid before yours, doing what I did with her was always, it's not that we can't talk about stuff. I'm not going to sit there and just give you a because I said so. Let's both talk about it. Let's both see if we can learn something from this. So the fact that I'm willing to accept not only her perception or ideas, but also embrace that maybe I could modify myself or become better means that I'm going to be open to it. Well, if I'm perceiving that and I'm also putting that kind of energy out, well, then the people that I'm, speaking with or interacting with probably going to reciprocate that, which means that me being good to myself is now being good to everything else, and so on and so on.
Ripple.
Yeah, man. Pebble in the pond, bro.
Ripple.
Let's make some tsunamis, bro.
Not the drink, ripple.
I don't need what is, I don't know.
Don't worry about
If you have to ask, you're supposed to know.
Bro. You don't even know.
It's Saturday, bro.
You don't even know, bro.
But yeah, dude, this is why, I mean, I love string theory. I love the idea of entanglement, the Akashic records, lucid dreaming. I mean, the more I do research or discovering of these ideas, the more I let myself kind of be free in those thoughts or understandings or perceptions, the more it seems, not even just logical, but likely that this really is a form of a simulation as we, keep expressing it, because, being fractals of light somehow gathered together to make solid structures known as atoms and DNA and all of these different things. It's like, so you're telling me that I'm supposed to believe that all these little things that I can't see do all this and that and blah, da, 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 da. It's like, how is that not a representation to take it even further? Looking into our, universe, the space around us, all the different stars and planets and all that stuff. It's like, how is that not the same thing, just on a grander scale than what we are?
It's all just light, man.
That's why
that's what's weird. Like, yeah, you get into the majesty and the size and scope of everything, and it's the head of a needle. And that's the really fascinating conundrum that you can fall into for days.
I mean, that's why I like, Horton Hears a Who. It's
because it's all just vibration. If it were to dissipate and stop vibrating, there would be nothing.
Well, but see,
it would all fit on the head of a pen.
And that's the same idea as, you have to have this without that. Like you were saying, for every sun, there's a black hole. There's that balance. So for us to be in this perception where everything is viable or, presumable or perceivable or any of that, means that there is also the opposite, which is absolute nothing. There is no perception. There is no thought. There is no existence. So to me, is we really are in the in-between, or, as we would call it, purgatory or earth or whatever you want to perceive it as. We're in the middle.
Well, there's another thing to think about. Like, no matter how many planets within this
galaxy, universe,
expanse of our cosmos,
yeah, right.
And even if you add in all the multiverses and all that stuff,
we haven't even been drinking over here, just slurring your zests.
Where was I going with that?
I don't know, bro.
It's all just a vibration that if it were to cease, there'd literally be nothing. I know I just said that, but just something to wrap your mind around. Like,
yeah, man. Well, that's what I was saying. That's what, like a never-ending story. You have the nothing, and you have the everything, and then you have the existence that's in between the nothing and the everything.
That's what I wanted to say, though. The energy that ignites all of this, everywhere you can touch it, see it, taste it, smell it, and even the stuff you can't see, and the stuff we think we're trying to discover now, it's all the all. Like, without giving it a name, it's all the all. And the all is doing this to know itself.
And I've liked that idea, because going to the
So even if it is fake, I mean, what is real? I mean, that was the same thing. Like, what is real? I mean, by definition, if we're all just vibrations, and if everything were to cease in a moment, there would be nothing. It wouldn't be explosions and catastrophe. Like, imagine every cell in your body just vanishing and disappearing into nothing.
Is this the Ghostbusters?
Exactly.
Well, yeah, but that's
cross the streams.
Yeah, right. But that's why, me personally, I like that idea of having to have that balance where there is nothing and everything, because then the extension being that we are these fifth dimension beings, these literal entities of light and love, are here having a human experience, because as light and love, we don't have perception in time and space. We don't see experiences. And to me, experiences is what learning is, or being human is.
It's the experiences that's why we're here.
Well, this is why I like that this is just a...
You ever think about your life as just entertainment?
Sometimes.
Instead of just waiting around.
I am very entertaining.
It may be a little annoying what I'm doing right now, but at least I'm doing something.
Well, yeah, but that's why I like that we are, these fifth dimension beings, or sixth or seventh, or, whatever, where these beings outside of the third and fourth dimensions having a third and fourth dimension experience as these alternate beings of fifth, sixth, whatever, that we really are here, that this is just a giant school. Because not being able to have time and space as a part of our perception outside of this, in, the fifth, sixth, seventh dimensions, that kind of stuff, we wouldn't know what this is. We wouldn't have an understanding of this. So we have to literally insert ourselves, give up some of our things so that we can be based within this reality, just to have these experiences, or to learn more, to know the all more, I would say. I like that.
I'd like to think that there's more people waking up to this same kind of ideal, that, like, even though I'm not the best at it, it's like it's still in my focal point. You know what I mean? As far as living my life, like, I'm interested in trying to show improvement, whether it means financial improvement, whether it's something visual and tangible,
emotional or physical, or
that the important thing is to live your life and live a good life and be as generous and kind. And I think if you focus on that, I think being prosperous is just kind of a natural outcome. I don't think it's something you really have to chase.
See, and this is, I completely agree with you, because I personally, the more I have focused on the idea of being, air quotes, transcendent, or growing, or, whatever you want to call it, just being a better me, the instant turnaround from that has always been, I've been more peaceful, more respectful, more patient. I've only wanted more peace and respect and appreciation for all things, not from me to them, but I mean in all. So for others and other things to do, in a reciprocal manner, put it out there and have it come back.
What was that thing? Because I think about it just randomly sometimes, like, especially like if I know I'm going to go into a situation where I'll be talking to people for a while. What was the thing in the Celestine prophecy I was thinking of?
The book's right behind you if you want to, need it for reference.
No, that would take too long. But the concept that everyone that you run into just naturally throughout the course of your day was not that it was planned out, but energies are coming together, frequencies. Like
Yeah,
if you're on a
or
certain
repelled
wavelength,
from.
and that something to the effect of in trying to get to this state during whatever step this was, I forget, throughout the book, in trying to get into this state, you have to come to the realization that everybody that you run into has got a message for you, and you have to be open enough to receive it.
Yeah, I like that part of it.
And
Honestly, I should watch that again. I haven't watched it in a while.
and that
It was a good representation of the
predates
book.
some of that newer stuff that came out, like The Answer and all that, The Secret and all that stuff. But
Yeah. Well, so I mean, the secret of the answer was really just a logical, science-based aspect of an interpreted idea.
and I love how he turned the spiritual journey into like the hero's journey somehow. I mean, there was near-death experience, there was intrigue, there was romance, there was, you know what I mean?
There was auras and spirits and fun shit.
It was a really well-written, well-crafted story, I thought.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, as far as movies go, a great representation of what the book is. I mean, it's very close to it.
Yeah, I mean, it was an all right production, and they did a pretty good job with what they had.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
It was more than, yeah.
Especially when the book is really amazing. I mean, any book, not just that one, but if any book is done well, a proper representation of that probably isn't going to look like the most cinematic, thing in the world. That's why they take artistic allowance and, change shit. So this is why, I mean, I really enjoy this production of it in comparison to the book, because it's pretty damn consistent with what it was putting out there idea wise. It may have modified some stuff to have the story continue on an appropriate timeline, but
it's real enough that it could almost feel like a story of someone who's gone through that very somehow.
Well, because you turned me on to the movie. I watched the movie and you're like, hey, I got the book. And then I read the book and it's just like, holy crap. Yeah, I really like
Book's
this.
even better, yeah.
I mean, as they usually are.
They did do a good job with the movie, but
Yeah.
the book makes a little bit more sense in some parts.
Well, agreed. But that's what, some things can't always get translated properly going from book to movie, because when you do it in a book, you're allowing yourself to interpret. Whereas when you're doing it in a movie, you have to put it into means that the majority of people are going to understand. So you have to almost finite it, and it causes restriction.
Just need a better narrator.
Morgan Freeman.
Right. And more narration.
But,
Yes. What?
yeah.
Hey.
Hey. Yeah.
It's getting kind of hectic.
Oh, God.
No, it's getting close to that time.
It's closing time.
Yeah, but you don't have to go home. You really don't have to go anywhere.
Yeah, but you can't stay here. Well, I mean, you can. I mean, depends on what world or
Well, it depends on what
perception.
here is. I don't know.
I don't know. It
You
also
just go on and on about that. What
also
is
depends on what depends means.
what is chair?
What is your definition of is?
What is desk? What is light?
Easy there, Brock.
You're just naming things around there.
Pretty much. Yeah. But yeah, fam, we appreciate you. And as always, be good to yourself. Be good to everything else.
Much love.
Peace.
Peace.
Peace. I had to throw that in there.